speaking of those who we deeply appreciate, we could not be continuing these events as we are either in person or virtual, as we are working to get back to in person. We have not had better partners than the sponsors of today's events. Our title sponsor, the First Horizon Foundation, has been a partner on our Celebrate Right series for over 10 years. So they really helped us vision for what this is, and they've continued to help us make these events possible. So huge thanks. And also huge thanks to the Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee. They are not only tremendous supporters, but they are also thought partners. Kevin Woods, you're going to hear from in a few minutes, is on our board of trustees and is a great friend of New Memphis. So thank you. I'm going to turn it over to our friend from First Horizon Foundation, Lockie Wade, who is the Community Investment Manager. Welcome, Lockie. Thanks for being with us.
Hello, everybody. Thanks, Anna, for that introduction. Like Anna said, I'm Lockie Wade, Community Investment Manager of the First Horizon Foundation, and we're so excited to be with you today to have a virtual panel discussion on Memphis, the movement. First Horizon Foundation is proud to celebrate what's right in partnership with New Memphis and Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee. As a native Memphian and a current New Memphis Embark participant, I've had the opportunity to see firsthand just how important the work New Memphis is doing in our community, and I'm proud of First Horizon's longstanding partnership. Thank you for being with us today. And to introduce the topic a bit further, please welcome Kevin Woods.
Thank you for the introduction. Again, I'm Kevin Woods, Memphis Market President for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee, and as Anna indicated, a new Memphis trustee. Blue Cross is again excited to be a part of this wonderful event and help to play a small role in helping Memphis move forward. By the end of this year, Blue Cross will probably be able to say that we've invested over $7 million in our Healthy Place Parks initiatives in Memphis, Tennessee alone. We recently announced four health new clinics called Sanitas, just as a way to help address the healthcare needs in our city. And finally, as we work to bring us all back together, Blue Cross just recently announced grant opportunities totaling $1.7 million to help support communities with COVID-19 vaccination education campaigns. So let's get ready to hear from these movers and shakers that are doing more, again, to help move Memphis forward. We're fortunate to have a dynamic panel led by our moderator, Nicole Thomas. Nicole is a marketing and communication strategist, community advocate, philanthropist, and founder of Nicholas Creative Group. She has led diversity and inclusion efforts, community investments, and employee engagement activities, as well as her corporate philanthropy and volunteerism for Fortune 500 companies. She's earned her certification in diversity and inclusion from Cornell University, and her focus is fostering an environment of inclusions, collaborations, and innovation. Please welcome Nicole.
Thank you so much for that warm introduction, Kevin. It's so exciting to be here today. I moved to Memphis 10 years ago, and I can't believe how quickly the time has flown by. I am a New Memphis fellow alum, A15, yay. So super excited to be here and lead this conversation today. But, I would be remiss if I didn't mention, and acknowledge our community has gone through so much, not only over the course of the past year, but then also the course of the past week. But what energizes me is about the resilience of our community, everyone who's working really hard, from our community leaders and our corporate partners to our elected officials, everyone who's working behind the scenes to make sure that our community survives, whether it's power outages or, I understand some folks are we're still under a boil water advisory, but our community is resilient. And that's the beautiful thing about Memphis. We will find a solution no matter what is going on. So I'm super excited to lead this panel discussion today. We have four amazing panelists, and I'll introduce them briefly, but then they'll introduce themselves. So first up, we have Susan Dalton. She is with Innovate Memphis. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Susan.
Hey, I'm Susan Dalton. I'm a lifelong Memphian. Really excited to be a part of this panel with these fellow folks today. I think oftentimes we define ourselves by the work that we do, but I'm really grateful that the work that I do is embedded in the community. And so we are a civic innovation agency. We work alongside community partners and government to kind of innovate new ideas. And so we got our hands in a lot of different stuff, from transportation and mobility to blight and housing and public space. And so that's kind of my day job. And then, yeah, I love Memphis. I'll preach it all day and all night. So I'm excited to be with folks that love it as much as I do here today.
Thanks for being here. Next up is Milton Howery III. Milton is with the Memphis Tourism Bureau, as well as Milton Memphis Entertainment.
Tongue twister there. Thank you. Yes, my name is Milton Howery III, known to many locals simply as Milton Memphis. I've spent the last 14, 15 years working in the tourism industry. Had no idea that by getting off the expressway, going home to my parents' house in college at Elvis Presley and Brooks Road, and there's a visitor center there at the corner there, right before you get to Graceland, that started my career in tourism 15 years ago. And so by day, I am selling Memphis. I'm generating international and domestic media coverage for the city of Memphis and the tourism industry. And by night, I'm the founder of Milton Memphis Entertainment, an event organization that not only just produces events and concerts, but we also do a bit of marketing and artist management as well. But I've partnered with New Memphis actually on the Link Up Memphis event that we do quarterly, which has connected several thousand people since it was established in 2017.
Awesome. You're doing phenomenal work. I know you had a major event this week too, so kudos to you for that. We also have Nuranjani Rajakrishnan. She also goes by Jenny Red. And she is with Regional One, as well as her own podcast, which is called What's on Your Mind.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate the effort going into saying my full name, truly. Thank you. It's really good to be here. Thank you, everyone. I can only see the panelists, but I see we have like 117 participants in the Zoom and I'm sure elsewhere watching. So very happy to be here. Like Nicole mentioned, I do work at Regional One Health by day. And like Milton, I also have a by night job. So I work in healthcare at Regional One Health. I work for the team of people that help the people that help the people. So I work in operations behind the scenes to support our amazing clinical workers. And by night, I've been very passionate about racial justice and mental health advocacy my whole life. So I'm a trainer and a facilitator and a public speaker, which kind of spurred the whole podcast movement, which wouldn't have been possible without New Memphis, kind of springboarded by the TED Talk that happened last year. So I consider myself a truly new Memphian. I came back to Tennessee after many, many years and never knew my life journey was going to bring me back here, but I couldn't be more thankful to be here.
Well, pleasure to have you. And thank you for all the work that you do as well. Next up, we have Jessica Tavo, and Jessica is the CEO of Epicenter. Jessica.
Hey, it's so good to be with you all today. I'm totally honored to be on a panel with these wonderful panelists. So thank you so much for having me. As Nicole mentioned, I'm the interim CEO of Epicenter. We're an entrepreneurial hub organization, which just means that we make sure that Memphis and Shelby County has everything it needs to support local entrepreneurship for folks who want to start a business or grow an existing business. I'm a native Memphian, grew up here, left after high school for about 14 years and came back just 10 years ago. So the same as you, Nicole, best decision I think we ever made. Really glad to be back here. And also a graduate of the New Memphis S19 Fellows Program, which was just a game-changing experience. So glad to be here with all of you.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I do want to remind our audience members, if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat and we will get to them later in the hour when we open up for our Q&A. So our first question is, why Memphis? You know, you're all bright professionals and you could have the opportunity to live and work anywhere in the country. So what made you choose Memphis and what keeps you here and investing in your city? Jenny, would you like to lead us into that?
I would love to. Yes, I was just taking myself off mute there. So, like I mentioned, I consider myself a new Memphian, and I love calling myself a Memphian as long as you all will allow me to claim that. I know many people have called themselves Memphians for years, but I've only been here for about 2 years, and I can truly say that I have never felt more like home anywhere else in my life. I mean, I grew up in Knoxville, which was great. I mean, that was my, my young adulthood. And then I lived in North Carolina and DC for kind of the next 10 years of my, professional and academic career. But, I feel like it wasn't until moving to Memphis where I felt like people really saw the passion that I have and wanted to support that passion. So my own, employer knows of all these amazing things that I do on the side, and they're truly supportive of that. And so, I've never lived somewhere before where, when people ask you, oh, like, what do you do? And, just tell me about the stuff that you do. Usually they just answer with, oh, that's great. Here in Memphis, people pull out their phones and say, well, I know someone that does this. Can I connect you to this? Like, it's literally people want to move you forward in your professional success, in your passion projects. And the city itself, obviously, there's so much music and culture and such rich history. But the thing that's really keeping me staying here is just the energy that I get from being around so many other entrepreneurs like the folks here on this panel. But every person I meet on the street has a similar passion project and similar story of being here and having their dreams come alive. I mean, why live anywhere else, honestly?
Sounds great. Would anyone else like to add to that?
Yeah, for me, grew up in Memphis, so obviously born here, ancestors chose Memphis, but I continue to choose Memphis because honestly, Memphis has been good to me. I have no complaints about Memphis. It's been good to me. It's a place where if you're creative, if you're an innovator, it's easy to find the people to support your ideas and your visions. But also, more importantly, I feel an obligation to invest in Memphis and support Memphis. And I think we all have to be intentional about that investment, intentional about that, because Memphis is changing. There's a lot of wonderful things happening. But in order to make sure that that changes what we want, we have to be intentional about it. And so I feel it's an obligation and duty for me to invest in Memphis and to be here.
No, that's great. You are right. Memphis has truly evolved. In the 10 years that I've been here as a non-native Memphian, we've seen Crosstown open, we've seen Epicenter emerge, we've seen all of these great things, commercial development, downtown rejuvenation, even the renovation of the National Civil Rights Movement, all of the National Civil Rights Museum. All of those things have taken place over the course of the past 10 years. And the things that we see moving forward are super exciting. The projects that are coming online, there's just so much happening here. Would anyone else like to add to why Memphis? All right. I always felt like Memphis gave me a hug because when I first moved here, as part of the FedEx team, hello everyone at FedEx, I was only supposed to be here for 4 years, but Memphis kind of wrapped its arms around me and gave me a hug and wouldn't let me go. There's this deep sense of community. But what I want to get into next is in what ways and in what sectors do you think Memphis is most innovative?
I can take that one. Well, I think what makes sort of our entrepreneurial community, I guess, at least really special is that we define entrepreneurship and innovation here really broadly. So we do see innovation in tech sectors like medical device and logistics and supply chain, and we have programs to really foster that kind of tech startup entrepreneurship and culture, and we work with, again, partners to do that. But we also see entrepreneurship in food and music and art and place-based businesses like barbershops and restaurants. And so we really embrace entrepreneurship on a really broad level. I think, in those sectors, we really leverage our strengths. We're not trying to be, we say this all the time, we're not trying to be the next Silicon Valley. We're just trying to be the best Memphis that we can be. So we really, provide programs and support in those areas that Memphis is great in. We see entrepreneurs as, job creators. They're the ones who are building culture here in Memphis. They're also the ones that give back to their community. So they end up investing back into their community so much, and it really makes that job creation and reinvestment really makes entrepreneurship such a big part of our economic development strategy. And I'll just say a couple more things about this ecosystem of support. I think that, one is that, and again, all of these things about our ecosystem, I think, are unique to Memphis. You don't often find these in other markets, but our entrepreneurial community is really representative of Memphis. So we're here for all entrepreneurs. We're the front door to lots of different programs and resources. But in Memphis, we need to make sure that entrepreneurial community represents the demographics of our city, and here that's majority African American, and so we're really intentional about ensuring that our entrepreneurial community reflects the demographics of Memphis. And the last thing I'll say is that our entrepreneurial community, or our ecosystem of support, and ecosystem, just a fancy word of saying a big network of supportive organizations. Our ecosystem of support is really collaborative. We work really well together. We talk to each other all the time. This was really important in the beginning of COVID, where we had to sort of band together and meet on a regular basis and share resources and refer small businesses and startups to each other. And so anyway, I think your question was, what's innovative? What sectors are we innovative in? I think Memphis is really strong in certain areas. I think we really try to work on highlighting those and providing resources and support in those areas. And we all work together to make sure that those resources are accessible and equitable and reflect Memphis.
Yeah, and I would just tack on to that same thing that you heard just a minute ago about like people wanting to connect and support each other. Innovation is really just taking a novel approach to addressing a problem in a different way. And it really blossoms when sectors converge. And that's when those intersections happen, that you have more exchange of ideas and values. You start to have like shifts in roles and relationships. And that cross collaboration and pollination, that really strengthens the fabric and the possibility to kind of create a base for innovation. And so you'll see it in every aspect, but that's why we're able to lead in areas like ag tech and medical technology and even civic innovation. Memphis was one of the first 5 IT innovation teams in the nation, and now we're celebrating the 10th anniversary, and it's become a model across the country and across the world. And so you'll see kind of areas of this, but really what it takes is, taking a new way to address a problem, and then to have that support, across sector support, to make it happen.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nelson.
I want to jump in there. I think when it comes to innovation, something that we've always done well is the arts and entertainment. I think it's something that we really, we know our legacy stuff, but I think sometimes we don't realize how active our entertainment industry actually still currently is, and how many people and from the city of Memphis that are actually making an impact. I think of individuals like Katori Hall with P Valley. I think of Sincerely Camille, who has a show on OWN. I think of Desmond Robinson, who is actually going to be on one of the top chef shows coming up. I think of, right at the moment in Memphis, at any given moment throughout the year in Memphis, there's always going to be at least 20 or so rappers that are making the top of the charts for the city of Memphis, the Billboard charts. So when I think about the arts and entertainment, that is a space that we've always been innovative, but a space that we continue to be.
You guys summed it up. You make my job so easy. This city has so much to offer when it comes to collaboration, building ecosystems, our collective impact. I see that from the nonprofit sector to our small business sector to arts and entertainment. Everyone wants to see everyone else succeed. So it's not a competition, and we're able to do so much more, so much faster when everyone comes together. Because if you're trying to start a small business, you have Epicenter as a resource. You have the Cruise Center over at University of Memphis, the Cruise Center for Entrepreneurship. You have small business Small Business Development Center over at Southwest Tennessee Community College. You also have an entrepreneur incubator over at Christian Brothers. There are so many resources available. And then those resources aren't isolated. They're also connected to our city and our Office of Minority and Business Development and grants and resources. So everyone is pooling their resources together in order to move the whole city forward. And I think that's the piece that's so exciting. I'm going to move us real quick into, at what point does a dream or potential turn into reality? And how does Memphis have those resources to make innovation a reality? I know we just listed like tons of them, but I think there's even more. So Janet, tell me about some of the resources that you may have tapped into, and then Jessica, tell us about some of the resources you may have as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of two explicit examples right off the bat. So I kind of mentioned the TED Talk right in the beginning. So I wouldn't have even gotten that TED Talk if my Regional One Health employer didn't see the kind of, passion that I have for speaking. Obviously, I'm on this panel with you all today, and kind of, being in front of audiences and inspiring them. And so I got this opportunity through work that wasn't related to my job description to speak, for 1 minute to introduce a New Memphis event. While I was there, then the folks on the New Memphis panel asked me about TED Talk, which was a bucket list dream of mine that I never thought was actually anything attainable in my life. And so immediately I was like, yes. And so luckily that event did get to happen right before the pandemic. And I will truly say that changed my life. Honestly, it just put me on this trajectory where it's kind of put me on the map as someone who does like to inspire. And looking out into the audience of the TED Talk was, my people from work, my own boss was in the audience at that. And I just have so much gratitude for where I work, because not only are they supportive, but they show up. They actually want to actually help me move forward in this dream. And another example I have too, I mentioned the podcast, and when I was initially starting, and I connected with a couple local businesses in the South Main District because I eat at all their restaurants and I shop at their stores. And so I've just gotten to know, some of the small business owners. And when I kind of talked about how I was doing a podcast, I connected with the Arcade Restaurant, who actually now has hopped on to be a sponsor. And we were sitting in their restaurant just going back and forth about ideas. And exactly what you said, Nicole, of people want to help you succeed. It's not competition. In fact, they offered their space and said, let's do live shows here. And so, it's truly an environment where people want to work together to help elevate each other's dreams.
You're absolutely right. Susan, so tell me a little bit more about, Jessica, sorry. Jessica, that was one of your questions too, about innovation and making it a reality. Janie talked about hosting live podcasts, and I know that Epicenter hosts several live podcasts and creates that space for entrepreneurs to be able to live out their dreams.
Yeah, shout out to Grindset, our podcast in collaboration with Kazukian, which is a local podcast producer here. Definitely check that out. I'm a podcast consumer, so I love listening to it just as a listener. It highlights stories of entrepreneurs in Memphis, and really I've always find nuggets of information from listening to those. But in terms of the resources here, I think when Epicenter was created, there were already great organizations in Memphis that were doing, providing services and resources to entrepreneurs, but it was just a little bit hard to navigate that ecosystem of support. And so Epicenter is really intended to make it easy to find those resources, to have a central point of contact. When you contact our organization, we're going to take a little bit of information, and that's whether you have an idea or you have an existing business and maybe want to grow it or have some questions about that. There may be some Epicenter resources available, but more often than not, we may refer you to one of our partners that are also serving businesses, because again, we're serving all kinds of businesses. You might be just have an idea or be early in your business stage. And when you're talking about the kinds of resources needed to build a business here. You know, you're talking about capital or the money that's needed. You're talking about maybe some expertise or mentorship, connections to customers, or just getting connected to other entrepreneurs who are going through what you're going through. You know, we're able to connect you to those resources through our partnerships across the city. So, and somebody said it earlier, you know, getting those connections and making decisions faster is going to save you time and save you money. But it may also be, we've got some programs, you know, you may also just want to know, I'm not sure if I should even be in entrepreneurship. What do I need to know? What are the questions I need to ask? And it's okay to come to the conclusion too that maybe I'm good where I am. I don't know, you know. So our job is just to get you, you know, provide better access and get you to all the resources in the region faster.
No, that's great. You are right. It's so important. Entrepreneurship is not easy, and it can be often isolating. So having that ecosystem of support is crucial. I know I have my own pool of entrepreneurs, and we get together and we talk and we work through issues. We provide resources for each other. Shout out to Cynthia Daniels, Philip Ashley Chocolates, so many others. If I forget you, you know, it's charged to my head and not my heart. But we all support each other and we provide opportunities for each other and open that door. So that circle of support and resources is really critical and really important. So what inspires you to help shape a better future for Memphis and continuing to build on that positive narrative change? Tell us a little bit about why the rest of the world and other major cities are looking to Memphis as an example in some of the recent years.
Well, I'll jump in on that. And, you know, I feel as if, you know, for one, you know, what inspires me to make Memphis better is, I said earlier, it's the sense of obligation. It's a sense of duty. And that's kind of how I go about it. But it's with pride. It's the pride that I have for Memphis. That's what inspires me. I want to be able to Memphis allows you to take part in the change if you seek and if you want to be a part of it. And it welcomes it if you have an idea. And I think, you know, in recent times, you know, I feel that the world is looking at Memphis because we, in the last decade or so, have finally found value in ourselves. The world has always loved us. They've taken our music, they love our food.
And our barbecue.
Yeah, you know, but before COVID, you know, we were getting, you know, over 12 million visitors to the city of Memphis, you know, and so, you know, they love us. And I think now that we've actually know our own value, we're shining brighter because of people we talk to and our friends and the people outside the city, you know, we're the word of mouth because we love Memphis now and we've changed the perspective of how we see ourselves. I think the world is now paying attention to us.
Absolutely. Would anyone else like to add to that?
Yeah, I would echo that. Just, you know, like as a lifelong Memphian, I think particularly young people feel they may need to leave Memphis to make a difference, but that's not true. And I think, you know, there used to be, or there seems to have been a really kind of a negative narrative, especially internally. There was this kind of sense of Memphis by Memphians that we weren't good enough. But now that's changing, and you can't talk about us in a bad way either. And now we're also like kind of building up our self-esteem and really celebrating what we have to offer. And there's so much that Memphis has to offer, and you don't need to leave the city to make change. And we have so many amenities to offer and talented folks to help make the city better. And so, you know, here, you like you mentioned, you really felt that palpable change in the last 7 to 10 years, but it's really just going to keep accelerating from here. We've got the momentum, and you can get in on the ground level now and connect and be a part of it and make meaningful change. I think that's really special.
Absolutely. There are so many people who are making a change. A couple leaders pop into mind, like Brittany Thornton over at Deuce Orange in Orange Mound. She saw a need in the community, you know, during this past week, and she opened a warming center, and the community rose to the challenge and provided resources and cots and water and food, and it became a community effort, and she wasn't in this alone. And I think that type of commitment and also owning the responsibility for being the leaders in our community and being seeing, the change we want to see in order to move it forward is so important. So that leads me into, it's important that we empower young leaders and give them this perspective. So what advice would you give to the next generation of leaders in Memphis, and how do we foster that talent in our field and in our community?
I'd love to start this one. I think, and I'm sure other panelists here would agree, is that you don't need to have a full-fledged idea to start, if you have an idea, put it out there in the world, and Memphis is going to help you manifest it. You're going to connect with people. I mean, you have panelists here who want to be on your side and help you take your idea to fruition. But I guarantee you that your neighbor, your friends, your peers, your coworkers, everyone is going to want to jump on that bandwagon to help you flesh out your idea to make it a reality. And there's no limits. There's really no limits. So I would say, keep your mind open to opportunities. And if you have an idea, just run with it and tell someone about it.
Absolutely. I know, Susan, you have some expertise in this space as well.
Yeah, I wanted to give Milton a chance to say something. I think he wanted to share. So
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, for fostering talent, Memphis is a place that we really need that next generation to help us get to that level. And so there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. But really, like the other panelists have said, just get involved and be a part of this. We're starting to do things like we wanted to do like fellows and to create talent pipelines to bring people and show people the opportunities and pathways, because sometimes if you're not exposed to them, if you're not attending events like this where you learn about them, it can still kind of live in their little silos. And so when you kind of reach out and ask questions and connect with folks, be curious and kind of find opportunities to see what's next. That's really what's needed from an individual level. And then we need from a systems level, you need places where you can plug in, where there are opportunities. And so organizations like Epicenter or through the universities and the chamber, and pathways for you to connect and plug in, to connect you to jobs, or with New Memphis to connect to professional development opportunities and networking and things like that.
Thank you, Susan. Milton.
Yeah, I'll jump in there and say, to those future leaders, don't limit yourself on the vision. Like Jenny said, it doesn't have to be complete. What you become is endless, and what you can do is endless. So don't limit yourself on the vision, but you have to have at least an idea, I would say, of something. It doesn't have to be complete, but you have to start somewhere, and let life take you, and keep the positive perspective, and let life take you on the journey, and you will reach your goal without even thinking about it. You will make an impact just naturally. I think we have to be intentional about, when it comes to fostering new talent. I think, I hope that everyone, all the 124 people in this audience, take it up on themselves to become a mentor. I think it's very important that we reach out to those individuals in those needed communities and make sure that we expose them to the opportunities, because they can't get the vision without exposure. And so I think that's the most important piece about fostering new talent.
Absolutely. Mentorship is so important. When young people reach out to me, I make it a priority to respond, and I make it a priority to invest in them. I always believe to whom much is given, much is required, and much is expected. There are people here in Memphis that made time for me when I first moved here. Thank you, Rose Jackson Flanor. Thank you to so many, Kathy Ross over at FedEx, Edith Kelly Green, people who just opened the door, shared their wisdom, shared their knowledge. I think that's the beauty of Memphis, about people being accessible and approachable. So when young people reach out, I make myself available no matter how busy I am, because we need to be able to pour into them. One of my life mantras is stay curious. So if someone is curious enough and they take that step to reach out, then I make sure that that door is open for them.
I want to jump in on that real quick. I can't let this go without saying thanks to Kevin Kane in Memphis Tourism, Patsy Morgan and Regina Beard and Kevin Kern. Those are my superiors here at Memphis Tourism. 14 years ago, I was just a kid not off the street. I lived with my parents, but I was a kid with not sure where he wanted to go. And I just walked into that Welcome Center, Elvis President, Brooks Road, and off 15 years later, I have a career in tourism and entertainment that I never thought of. And so, I just want to give thanks to that. And I just want to say I'm a product of that mentorship and seeing the talent in someone and nurturing it and growing it.
So Memphis has allowed for us to be successful and it's enabled us to be successful, but we also have to talk about what are some of the challenges that were in the way, and then how did we mitigate that and remove those barriers?
Okay, I'll kick that one off.
Community spaces.
Yeah, so I think that, let's see, what has enabled my success? I think, first of all, the team that I work with, I don't think we could do the work that we do. And I couldn't do the work that I do without just a really, supportive team. We have a really strong culture within our organization, and we try to take really good care of that. And I think that enables our work to succeed and to move forward. We have a lot of work to do here. So our team and our organizational culture is really critical. Certainly, again, I'm just going to say the partners who we work with. We face a lot of economic challenges in Memphis. And I think because we're honest about those challenges with each other, and that we name them and are intentional about addressing them together, that has enabled our success. I think economic development can be very difficult and challenging work, and sometimes you don't see the results for many years, and so that can be a challenge for fundraising and metrics and reporting and all those fun things as a nonprofit. But we're I think the organizations who we partner with are determined to address those together, and so that's enabled success. I do have to say, and I'm not just saying this because we're on a New Memphis panel, but going through that fellows program and really connecting with a group of like-minded individuals who, not that we all agreed on everything, because we have lots of different lived experiences and backgrounds and opinions on things, but going through a cohort of sort of professional development and personal development together was a really game-changing experience. And I think that broke down a lot of personal and professional barriers for me, and really exposed me to people who I just would not, in the nonprofit sector, would not have engaged with necessarily, even though Memphis is a great, welcoming, easily accessible town. It still put me in contact with folks who I still talk to today, who are in different sectors. So that was a lot of talk, but I think working together on difficult challenges, and also investing in your own personal development can really help with that. And again, I'm not just saying that because we're on the New Memphis call. I say that all the time.
No, you hit on some great points. And we also have to be honest, as a non-native Memphian moving here, it was hard at first because you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know who you don't know. So taking ownership of, how do I get involved in this city? How do I become a part of this community? And I'm thankful to my VP at the time, Neil Gibson at FedEx, who nominated me for the New Memphis program. And I was able to meet like-minded professionals, grow my network. And that part's important because, you don't know who you don't know, and you don't know what you don't know. So staying curious is key, investing in that professional development as well. Thank you all for your responses to that. So other than the work your organization is doing, name one project or person or organization that is moving Memphis forward, and what excites you. I will call on you. Y'all know I teach at Christian Brothers. So Jenny, you're up.
Okay, so not our own organization. I can't talk about Regional One Health anymore about being how awesome it is. Okay, well, that's okay. I mean, I will just say, I think I've talked about this a little bit before, but just like everybody that's been within the South Main district, again, this is just a very small example here, but I'll even just say, you know, over the past week, you know, in a couple weeks, as Nicole mentioned in the beginning, you know, our community has faced a lot in terms of just the weather and everything. And over the past couple weeks, you know, I live in one of the buildings that didn't have running water and all this stuff. And a couple nights ago, our building roof over our cars collapsed. And out of all of the cars, like my one car was the one that didn't get like squished by the roof. And immediately all of the neighbors, it wasn't like oh man, look at her car. It was but bang on her door. Let's get her car out before anything does possibly happen. And these were people that, you know, I looked at them as neighbors, but now we're all genuinely friends. And it just feels like, you know, even in a small example like that, which just shows people here unconditionally love without expecting something in return. And they will not bat an eye to help you and make you feel like you are a community member who deserves support. And I mean, and that's just a small immediate example that I can think of. It's not related to my organization, it's not related to work, but it's just an example of just the community support and love that's here and where people just want you to make it.
You know, I could list a 1,000 or so places, like just randomly, you know, from, you know, I could go say, you know, from Old Dominic to, you know, I love how they pivot in the middle of the pandemic and provided the hand sanitizers and things like that, to, you know, the programs that Crosstown provides the arts community, obviously to the work that New Memphis does, to the work that all of you do on here, to the Cynthia Daniels, to the Philip Ashleys that you mentioned, to, you know, I can go on and on down this list of all these wonderful individuals, people, or organizations, and a lot of them who we all know and see and are all a part of that change. And so, you know, I think, you know, I'm just so proud to just know those individuals and those people and to see the change that they're making. And it's because of all those people that I've named that Memphis is on par to something special and something great. And so, you know, I can't just pinpoint one. There's so many, but yeah, I'm excited.
That actually reminded me of two other things, Milton. I'm glad that you started naming businesses. So Stock and Bell, which is just it's a local boutique here that's in Memphis, they did my wedding registry. And then Bluff City Coffee turned into a little bit of a grocery store during the pandemic. And yeah, I mean, again, just two examples of businesses that want to wrap around you. We talk about wrapping around and creating that ecosystem. I mean, it was like, now Stock and Bell will forever be in my home because they will be literally stocking what my house looks like.
And then I thought of two more. Sorry. you know, I thought of Memphis Slim House in their music program.
Yes, Memphis Slim House.
Christina with her tasting boxes and how she's, you know, basically sold Memphis across the globe, internationally and domestically, showcasing our fine restaurants and some of our unique boutique shops and gifts items and things like that. So, I mean, I can think of another if you give me a moment, but yeah.
Well, I know that we've talked a lot about the business sector and the arts sector, but I also have to mention Momentum Nonprofit Partners. They have galvanized the work of Kevin Dean and John Beliza and Dorian Spears. They have really created an ecosystem and capacity building space for our nonprofit sector. They were able to provide PPE equipment and supplies and hand sanitizer to all of the nonprofits that serve on a grassroots level. And it was phenomenal during 2020. They've been through so much. Disclaimer, I'm the chair of the board. Hey, you know, you have to put those things out there. But it goes back to what I mentioned before about collective impact and collaboration. All of these organizations coming together, business, nonprofit, corporate, and government, in order to move the city of Memphis forward. We're coming up on our time. Before we open it up to Q&A, I do have one final question for our panelists. In one sentence or less, How can someone watching this panel today be a part of Memphis, the movement?
I'll say, before you buy something from a big e-tailer, spend a few extra minutes and find it in Memphis. Spend your dollars intentionally with Memphis companies. Your dollars will go so much further, help your community so much more, and get to know those entrepreneurs who are providing those goods and services along the way. You will not regret it.
I'm going to say become knowledgeable of your surrounding in the city of Memphis, and making sure that you're following all those different media outlets and resources where information for you to get involved and be active, like the I Love Memphis blog, or We Are Memphis, or Choose 901, or any of those great organizations like that. I would say make sure you're following the right sources so that you can be involved and informed.
Yes. Susan?
Yeah, I would echo that. So really just be engaged and know that you can shape the future, whether you donate your time and your attention. And we've talked a lot about people on this call, but don't forget that place is very important. I didn't get a chance to talk about our Reimagining the Civic Commons effort, but wanted to give a quick shout out to the library and our community centers and our parks. That the city has so much to offer. And not only are there going to be amazing spaces and amenities for you to take advantage of, but it also needs you for them to be lively. This is places where you can connect with other people that you may not ordinarily intersect with. So don't sleep on our libraries and parks and community centers. There's some really amazing resources there, and you have a great experiences as well. So just simple as visiting and being engaged that way.
Oh, and you touched on some new things, because Nick Walker over on the Parks Director, Neighborhood and Parks Director with the City of Memphis last week, they unveiled their new master plan.
That's right.
And it is going to be phenomenal. I mean, we already have tons of resources and recreation centers and tennis facilities and basketball courts and just all of these parks and beautiful spaces. So we definitely, that's coming online. We also have Shelby Farms, and I mean, this is just an amazing city to live in. And there's so much that we've created over the past 10 years. And then there's so much more that's coming. And I think that's the piece that's most exciting. I want to thank all of you. Before we close, though, and go into our Q&A, there are 3 things that we want from our audience. So number 1, subscribe. And Milton mentioned this earlier. It can be as simple as following New Memphis, following any of the organizations that we talked about today, integrating yourself into the community. Fill your inbox and your social media pages with the good news of Memphis. There's tons of good news and positive news about our city. Plug into those local news sources, plug into our community influencers, our industry experts, plug in to what they're doing so that you can have a different perspective, hear some different stories and some ideas in new ways. The second call to action, spend. And Jessica talked about that earlier. We want you to put your money where your heart is. And I always say, give where your heart leads you. But spend that money here in Memphis. Spend your dollars with local businesses whenever you can. Take that extra step. These are the businesses that reinvest. These are the businesses that hire our young people. These are the businesses that employ them and provide professional training for them. So if we invest in them, then they are able to reinvest in our community. And the third piece is share. Share your ideas, your inspirations, your motivations, as well as your side hustles. Memphis, yeah, we have to do a whole different panel about side hustles, because I feel like we all have them and they are super supported here. So share your side hustles, and a simple share can put your idea on the radar of other local innovators who can help build upon it, contribute, and even make it into a reality. Austin Kleon has a book called The Seniors, and he talks about this sense of community. You put your idea out there and other people feed it, you get something from someone else, and that's how ideas and communities grow. And we have that here in Memphis, but we want to continue to feed it. So subscribe, spend, and share. Those are your calls to actions. So let's take a look at some of the questions in the chat. Give me a moment, because there are several, and I want to make sure that I kind of captured that. Reimagine. Okay. One question. Okay. Given the pandemic, this question is from Jay Barrow. Thank you, Jay, for your question. Given the pandemic and working remotely on a global level, how is that impacting your business in Memphis and your opportunities to further impact the Memphis community and broader communities, or even globally for that matter? So how has the pandemic and working remotely changed or impacted things?
Well, I'll jump in there from a tourism perspective. Obviously, it drastically affected, the usual revenue that we generate for the city of Memphis when in terms of tourism. But, the positive news of that is that Memphis has been trending well compared to some of our competing cities. So although, obviously, because of the pandemic, we have less travelers, but we've been doing well. So I would say, less travelers, but we're doing well. And I suspect that when things open back up and things begin and vaccines are given out and people have those, I suspect that Memphis is going to do well, and we will overcome this. For my entertainment business, for me, obviously, I could not host any concerts or things, but I have been able to do some things virtually. And it's caused me to actually take some needed time to sit down and be creative. And so I really enjoyed that downtime to be creative and actually think about the future a little bit more.
I'll just tag on to that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just tag on that and say that, we've been working remotely. I think, certainly I think it will change the way, well, first of all, our businesses are, in recovery, in sustainability mode. We need to do everything we can to support startups and small businesses right now. Our restaurants, going back to the spending dollars with our restaurants, do that intentionally. We need that. We all need to be doing that. But in terms of sort of working remotely and working during pandemic, I think that, it's created lots of opportunities for innovation and entrepreneurship, how we work. I think it's forever changed the way that we're going to work moving forward. But I don't think that we're going to be completely remote forever. I think it really has shown us how much, while we've been productive, it's shown us how much we want to be together in community and in collaboration. And I think there will be a pent-up demand to get back together. I think the work that we do, where we're trying to create a culture and convene people together and collaborate, that's not something we can do completely remotely. So it's really just shifted our thinking on, okay, we're doing well now, but we're thinking about, like Milton said, sort of post-vaccine, when it's safe to get together. I think there will be a pent-up demand to do so. And we might not be in a 9-to-5 situation anymore, but I think we will be back working together sooner than later. So we're looking forward to that.
And I would say one benefit too of being forced to work remotely is I know within our organization, we have done so much more networking with other cities. We already were, but now it's just easier and more, people are more likely to hop on the call and to share information, and that we are actually receiving and sharing information with, cities across the nation to learn about, how can we do this better, talk through some of our challenges and get some really expert guidance that we don't have locally, but now we are creating this local knowledge base to make something happen. And then also, I just want to, again, on the place that I think the city of Memphis and Mayor Strickland have recognized that, this is going to be a big hit on the city, and this is going to have, detrimental effects to our community. And so started to combat that with the unprecedented investment in community projects. The city announced a $200 million investment. It's never before been done to improve the quality of life by driving and improving housing and connectivity, activating our Memphis 3.0 anchors. That means investing in improvements like sidewalks and crosswalks and Wi-Fi throughout the city, from Whitehaven to Soulsville, Hollywood, Orange Mound, Highland Heights, all over the place. So investing in our parks and community centers, but also in the neighborhood anchors. And so you're really going to see a change in the next few years, not just from a planning perspective, but actual funding to start to make investments that you'll see change on the ground in just a few short years. So that's one positive that's come out of it. We see the value in public space more than ever.
One of the positives on my end, it has allowed me to expand. So it's not necessarily me going to other cities, but me inviting other cities and other people into Memphis. Yes, I'm based in Memphis. So I'm now, you know, an ambassador for the city of Memphis and the great things that are going on here. So being able to tell the story about Memphis and share that with my clients who may live in New York or Atlanta or San Diego or Houston or New Orleans. So they are getting a taste of Memphis by me being here versus going to their cities and where they are. So I think that's becoming like this virtual ambassador is part of how me and my company are navigating this space. We have time for one more question. There are so many great ones in the chat, and I don't want the discussions to end. So if you're watching this on Facebook, you can go to the Facebook page and we can continue to have conversations there, ask your questions, and I'm sure any of the panelists will jump in there. But our last question before I hand it back over to Anna is, how can we find out about more volunteer opportunities in Memphis? For me, the first two things that come to mind is Leadership Memphis, and there's Volunteer Memphis that is under Leadership Memphis. Andrea Hill, she leads that volunteer project there. And I think also Earth Odyssey with Dr. Sarah. Anybody else? How can people plug in? Because we want them to plug in and be involved when it comes to volunteerism.
No, I said they have to figure out exactly what type of volunteer work they're looking to do and go after organization. So figure out what assets can you bring and help someone, and then seek out those organizations that can do that. But there's like Volunteer Odyssey that I saw in the chat. There's also anyone looking to, one of my coworkers at Memphis Tourism, actually a few of my coworkers at Memphis Tourism have been volunteering, signed up to the vaccine, and they're basically just greeters in the parking lot, and so there's always opportunity to help if you look for it. And so Volunteer Odyssey is definitely one of those places that I've also volunteered through them several times.
Yep. Go where your passion leads you. Reach out to that organization. They are more than happy to take on that set of extra hands. I want to thank all of our panelists and all of our guests for joining us here today. This was a lively discussion. I feel like we could go for another 2 hours, but with the interest of time, thank you all for your participation. Continue to follow, and the conversation I'm sure will continue on Facebook. And I will turn it over to Anna for those closing remarks.
Sorry, y'all, had to worm my way back into the host gig. Well, thanks everybody. This panel was fabulous. I mean, no surprise there, but well done. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and thoughts. Nicole, thank you for being such an adept moderator. It's a specific skill, so well done. And thanks to all of you for being a part of this today, for listening in. We're so glad to have you. Again, we cannot wait to see you in person, but we appreciate you joining us virtually for the time being. And of course, thank you to our sponsors today, the First Horizon Foundation and Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee.